Hey, welcome back. One of the amazing things about this natural light space here in Northampton is the ability we've got to create different sets and different places. We're going to be working around this unit all day today and over the weekend, and I'm really pleased to welcome Miranda Walton. Miranda Walton, good morning. And I know that you absolutely really didn't want to do this. This was something that
you tricked me.
I tricked you into.
It's way out of my comfort zone.
Okay, so thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
It's awesome to be on this amazing lineup with other awesome photographers. I've got that imposter syndrome.
Well, you're not an imposter, because the reason that we're here is because you've taken our magazine program and you've made it your own to suit your business. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I know that you're a newborn and family photographer, and you have a background, but you have a background in marketing, is that right?
So I started off, my background was in graphic design, which I did from college, and went on to teach graphic design for a year at a college in Oxford, and then went into marketing. I then had a really bad horse riding accident, which put me in hospital for 2 months, and it was one of those life-changing moments where you think, do you know what, I don't want to work for someone else. I was told that I was lucky not to be paralysed, lucky that I should still be able to have children, and it changed my mind. I wanted to have children and I wanted to work for myself, and so lying in the hospital bed, I started.
You became a photographer. Well, that's brilliant news. So I know you had a family, and so during that period, it helped you to work with be with your family and to start to build up your business. Is that right?
There's not many jobs you can do and still be around for your children. It's not easy to do both. My children are just sort of secondary school age now, so it's only in the last year really that I've focused more on my business.
So one of the things that I know that you've been keen to do is to market, to make sure that product has become key in your business, because I know your early days there was digitals and prints and things, but you've kind of grown your business with a little bit more product, haven't you?
Coming from a graphic design background where everything is printed, it wasn't any digital work. Printed products really important to me. The real changing point for me was I used to sell mostly digitals with some prints. But I did a shoot for a friend and I gave her the digitals, and then I went round to her house for a coffee and I saw that she'd printed this amazing collage out on the wall, and it looked terrific. And from that moment on, I swore that I would never sell digitals on their own. So yes, I sell digitals with a piece of wall art, with an album.
And I think that goes to show, doesn't it? If you leave the control of your finished photograph to your client, you have no idea what's going to happen to it.
She thought it was amazing, and everyone else saw it, and that reflects my work, and it wasn't how I wanted it to look.
And so I guess you showed her how it could look.
I did, yes.
Yeah. And then did she appreciate it that bit more?
Yes, she didn't see it. They had a huge green colour cast over everything that she had done herself, and she didn't see that until I showed her how it should look.
And I know there's a lot of stories like that. I know we have a very good photographer who had a similar horror story with a wedding album that he normally doesn't ever do digitals, but he was persuaded to for this one wedding, and they complained bitterly on Facebook about how bad his work was and how poor it was. And it was only when he actually produced something themselves that they actually realized what the quality of the print was from him, because I think they'd had it made at Costco or something like that. Anyway, so we're going to move on. So we're here to talk about magazines, and in particular, Graphistudio, we launched a magazine program quite a few years ago, a couple of years ago now, initially to help photographers create their own brochure. Now, you've created your own brochure, haven't you?
So for me, this is really important that my clients see and believe in printed products before they've even booked me, or before I've started shooting. So if they get one of these in the post, which has all my products, the fact that this is printed means that I'm serious. I'm talking about them having printed products.
Okay. So
this has been a real game changer for me. Everyone gets emails now. Everyone sees PDFs coming through the email inbox, and the fact that this is printed means that. Should I turn that on? Is that
no, it's just it needs to be a bit higher. It's a
need
bit.
to shout.
We can't hear you so well. No. It's because it's echoing here. They couldn't hear you.
Yeah. So having something printed shows that everything I'm talking about is the end product needs to be printed.
So you, because you've got your own graphic design background, you've created this magazine, you know how it should lay out, but I know you also use other softwares and some of the other things.
One in particular I designed myself in InDesign. It's very easy if you know the program, it's super easy to do. But you can also use Fundy. Fundy is amazingly quick. The templates that they have in there are brilliant. And then the other thing you can do is you can buy Photoshop or InDesign templates just off the internet to do yourself. So they're very, very easy to design.
I know we're having a little bit of problem with the sound. Can I just check? Can you hear Miranda okay over there? Okay, so what I'm going to do now because now we're going to let a small confession here, because Miranda's also my partner and we live together, we can get close on the sofa. We're just going to point this out now because we're having a little bit of problem with Miranda's sound. I'm just going to go and move over here, all right, so that we're allowed to do this, everybody. We're okay.
You're not allowed to do it with anyone else.
Okay. Oh, really? Oh, okay. So let's have a look at the magazine. So we're going to a little bit better sound. So we'll fix that mic later for the next interview. So you created your own magazine for your own business that shows, you know, and I don't know if you guys can get a bit of a close-up in here. I don't know if you can get a close-up in here, can you, Amy? Apparently, no, we can't get a close-up, but we'll share some photos of this later on. But you've actually used magazines for other things in your business, haven't you?
Yes, so I work with a couple of local schools. I'm not a school photographer, I don't go in and do the portraits, but what I suggested to them was to have a yearbook. So for their year 6 leavers that are going off to secondary school, it's a sort of last final memento of their time at primary school, where I go in for about 2 hours, I shoot a class picture, individual portraits, which I think you can see a couple
Okay,
of.
let's just open that up here then.
Yeah, so individual portraits, and then group pictures. They also give me a piece of artwork to scan in.
Okay, so there's a nice piece of artwork that they've done during this school year.
Then we ask questions. What do you want to do when you leave school? Yeah. What's your funniest memory of school?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at it here. When I grow up, I want to be, and Ruby has said, a fashion designer. Yeah. You know, what was my favourite school trip? Kingswood at Isle of Wight, and favourite subject, art. So
it's just a really lovely thing for the kids to keep. So for me, for my efforts, I go in, I shoot for 2 hours. I don't actually edit any of these. It's just a quick Lightroom edit, so I don't spend much time editing. And then I produce the magazine for them. So for this particular school, the PTA actually purchases a copy for every child in the class.
So the PTA actually raises the funds through the families and the things that they do,
the fundraising,
and then they buy the magazines and the parents will get them. So instead of kind of like the tea towel or the sweatshirt or whatever.
So I go in knowing that I have sold 20, 25 copies of the magazine. So
that covers all of your time, was it? How long do you spend at the school?
2 hours, and then I design these in Fundy at literally the sort of fairly click of a button, and they're done. So you have, you know, some great pictures of the kids all together with their best friends. So they've got their own double page. I can see that the teacher, the head of class, does a little piece about their year as well. So that's really nice too. And of course, what's most important is your branding's on the back, isn't it? So because I don't have contact with I don't send them out directly to each child. I take the magazines, take them into school. I also include a gift certificate.
Right.
So I include a gift certificate so that every child then has that to take to do a family shoot.
And what sort of percentages of uptake do you get?
I get about 15 to 20%.
Well, that's just really good, isn't it?
Shoots,
well, especially as you've already been paid. You've already
really,
paid.
Really useful.
So obviously during last year we had. The kids were in lockdown virtually completely until the end of year, and you do this for year 6. So this is when all the kids go off to big school, you know, and all those friends that they're never ever going to lose touch with suddenly disappear, and of course they lose touch with them. So this is an amazing reminder for the families and for that child when they're grown up to look back on their life.
I've done this now for the last sort of 4 or 5 years. So actually before Graphy started doing magazines, I found someone else that the print quality was just not as good, and you couldn't customize it in the same way. They had very fixed templates, and they were more expensive. So
and they had
pleased when Graphy
so hang on, let me get this right. They couldn't customize the templates. The printing wasn't as good. It had their logo on it, and it cost more than us.
And it cost more. So
you heard it here, folks.
So lockdown was very different. There were a number of children in school. I tend to photograph these in around May time. So there were some children in school, not just key worker children. You could, at that point, you could send children in, but you didn't have to.
Right.
So I think this class in particular had about 5 children that didn't feel safe at coming into school that day to have their pictures taken, even though it was all outside. They didn't go inside at all.
Yeah, and you and you did it differently, didn't you?
I went to their house, so if they didn't want to come into school because they all lived locally, I went to their house to do it.
And obviously they couldn't do the with my friends pictures that they had, but you had more artwork.
So I asked for a picture they had to send in a picture from home, so this has got some of their own pictures that they've had, or school trips or something, so not all my pictures in that.
So even though they were in lockdown, they still got the magazine.
Yeah.
Now, having done it once with the school, do you think it's something that the school, suddenly has to keep on doing, or how does that work?
The first year that I did it, I had then parents request saying, "Are you doing the yearbook for this year?" So it's really been driven by the parents. And I think if you can get a PTA to fund it, what they do, the way PTAs work, what they do for 1 year, they have to keep doing it. It has to be fair across the school. So they do actually then need to keep doing it. So it's
almost self-generational, isn't it? So you, let me get this straight. So you get however many kids, families getting the magazine, which the PTA have paid for. So you're easily paid for your 2 hours of time plus design time, plus you get to give free marketing out to that whole year with a gift certificate to come for a family shoot, of which you get about 15%. So
and it's really good fun to do as well. It's not as I think school portraits can be very quick, and you're on
the photographer's under huge pressure and time constraints.
It's just really fun.
And we all know when the kids have gone to school and you suddenly have this envelope come through where you think, how much for that? And it's like, that's a terrible picture.
You still buy it though.
Yeah, but of course.
My poor kids.
Of course, you still buy it because they're your children. You just do. Now we're going to move on, because I know you've actually used business. You've created business alliances with different suppliers, and have actually used the magazines to generate yourself revenue there as well.
Yeah.
How was that? Tell me about how that's worked.
So this one is, I work with a local children's shoe shop. They had a very similar customer base to mine. So when they started up in Toaster, which is just down the road, I went and introduced myself and asked how we could work together. So what they wanted was initially just some pictures of children in shoes, because their stock photos were just
so the suppliers had sent them pictures of shoes, but no kids wearing them.
Yeah, so that's what they wanted. And so I suggested to them that we did a model call, because it would be great to use local children. It gives them a great experience and something fun to do and to tell their friends about, and it got a really wide reach. So typically we open the model call for 3 or 4 days maximum, and it gets around 300 people applying. We close it because we can't deal with too many more. So and that's 300 leads for me, because I run it all through my website, and so I take control of the model call.
300 families with children of the age that you'd love to photograph, of whose parents who love the idea of their children being a model,
the children, their photos go up in the window of the shop. They get used in the publicity. We have them obviously sign a model release so that I can use the pictures and the shoe shop can. And then before, I was always just then selling print, so they could buy prints, no obligation, but if they wanted to buy the print themselves, they could. Varied response, but not a massive uptake usually. People would maybe buy 1 or 2, but nothing too much. So because of the excitement that is generated by the model call and it's modelling.
It's mini models of Toaster is the magazine, which is really cool, isn't it?
Which sort of captures that interest in the children wanting to do an actual modelling.
Right.
So I then sell that to the families that have done it, and
So
they tend to buy copies for grandparents and friends and family.
Of course, why wouldn't you? It's your child's in there, and oh look, little Johnny's been a model. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you filter the children in any way? Do you ask for photos?
No, absolutely not. And actually, we've generated some really good positive PR by not asking to see photos of the children that entered. Both of mine and Zap and Toes' ethos is that all children are wonderful. Most of the time, and they all have their moments. So it's why do we need to see pictures of them? So we ask about their personality, and if they're shy and timid, then maybe this isn't the thing for them. But if they're confident and love the camera and love sort of modelling, then they don't need any experience. But I
mean, you can see here, it doesn't matter who they are, they come.
Was wonderful.
There's a little girl who's in her electric wheelchair there, and I think children would not get the opportunity to do this under normal modelling circumstances.
Modelling world can be very pressured for children, and this is a really relaxed, fun shoot. And if they sit there and didn't want to do it, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
They all do. They all really enjoy it.
So you pick 20 to 30 or so that are going to be in the magazine. You explain to the families, so you find out their shoe size, of course, because obviously they've got to have the right shoe size for when they come there.
It's all, I set up a portable studio in the shoe shop for the afternoon when it's closed one weekend, when we take all the pictures in there. So the one that we've done just before the lockdown, but when the COVID was still around, we only had one family in at a time.
Right.
We sanitised everything between, which
so
was
it's
work,
quite a lot of work during the day. But
it was for this one, but normally it's.
But does the shoe shop pay you for your time to be there?
So I get my day rate from the shoe shop, which then gives them the rights to use the images and things in their marketing.
Yeah.
So I make my money on the day, and then
you
I
sell magazines. I'm sure for a good profit as well, because these are, if you work with us and you're in our trade area, you have a very clear indication of how low cost these are, and yet beautifully printed. But of course, the shoe shop itself also gets their advertising in the front.
Yeah.
And guess what? You've got yours on the back. So you've got your advertising on the back of the
magazine. I also send out gifts.
So you include, and because you send these to the families that've been there directly, you get to the personal interaction with the gift certificate. And of course, you've got those 200 to 300 leads as well at the same time, which you can then send gift certificates out for. So you'd say this is successful for you?
It's been amazing, yeah. I'm also looking now to do an alliance magazine with the shoe shop and a couple of other local children's brands, where we'll all have articles written by ourselves, with my photographs mostly, which we then send out to all of our customer bases. So as long as we've all got a similar customer base and we're targeting the same customer,
so you actually work with so you find the right kind of business alliances that have the same avatar of customer, the same really kind of expectations, life thoughts, changes. It's not about how much money they've got. It's about whether they're the kind of people that
what they're prepared to spend that money on.
Yeah.
So the shoe shop, for instance, they are marginally more expensive than Clark's and the traditional shoe shops, but not much. But they really fit shoes to the individual child. So they have a bigger variety of shoes. So if the kind of people that care about that are my kind of clients that want to spend money on wall art and albums and things like that.
So I think identifying who your client is very key to you then. So making sure that all those business alliances, and I guess too with those business alliances, if they don't have the photographs, a photographer that can do it for them, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah,
so you can get actually not only just the referrals that come through the magazines that you all give out, but also the fact that you suddenly become doing their headshots or their business photographs for them as well. Yeah. So you actually gives you an opportunity to generate revenue in so many different ways.
And it makes it very easy. I think when you go into a business cold, just say, hi, I'm a photographer. This is what I can do for you. That's quite a difficult thing to do. But if you can go in with a magazine and say, look, this is what I've done for the shoe shop down the road.
Yeah. And how many, I know the answer to this question, but when you first designed this, how many of these did you order just to check on a...
Two. Two, just to make sure I hadn't gone wrong.
so you only
minimum order of two, and obviously the price goes down the more you order, but it's yeah, hassle-free. It makes it very safe.
Well, you know what? For me, it's understanding that Graphistudio is so much more than just an album supplier. How we give you that chance to kind of generate revenue for your business in so many other ways, not just not just as a publicity vehicle for you. The magazines, they're brilliant earners for you too. So you know, anyone that's interested in using our magazines, you can see them on our website. If you're not a customer yet, you can see them on our website, and you'll see all the different features and details. Because we're a trade-only supplier, you can only actually order them from us or find out the pricing by registering with us. If you're not a customer and you want to register with us, go to the Academia page and you'll see a link through there right now. We're going to be interviewing Kate Hopwell-Smith, or Kate Kirkman as she's known now, in a short while. I want to thank everybody for watching for this session. Miranda, thank you so much for helping us through the magazines. Really appreciate it. I know it's a game changer for her business. I'm sure it can be for yours too. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.